Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be reviewing to you the fourth wave of DLC for Fire Emblem Engage, this one containing the Fell Xenologue additional story campaign. What you might be wondering right off the bat is, how do I get to it? Because I had to look it up, how to get to the Fell Xenologue, because the game didn't make it very clear what you had to do. So what you have to do is you first have to get to Chapter 7, again with the arbitrary chapter limitations. I think this time it makes a little bit more sense because they want you to have enough units to be able to do the maps themselves, but I don't know. I wish they would make it clearer. And so after you've gotten to Chapter 7, you'll get a notification when you go to the Somniel saying that the Armorer wants to speak to you. So after you talk to the Armorer, he says that he's lost some of his weapons. So to get the weapons back, you have to go to the Ancient Well to pick up some extra rare weapons, and then you go back to the Armorer to say, here you go, only for him to say, nah, those aren't mine, you can keep them. So, okay, cool new weapons. But then you have to go back to the Ancient Well again, and now you can access the Fell Xenologue. That's a lot of running back and forth, but at least this game has fast travel. Once you get past the convoluted nature of getting to the Fell Xenologue, then it's just a matter of a brand new story quest taking place in an alternate timeline where things played out so differently that many of your allies are now your enemies, and vice versa. So you get to see this whole alternate take on the world of Elios. That's honestly the best part of the story, as I found that it's a very basic and simple premise. It's over pretty much as soon as it starts, as it's only 5 chapters long, and it doesn't have a whole lot of build-up. Admittedly, the story of regular old Fire Emblem Engage wasn't that great either, but at least it had its moments. This one had maybe like 1 or 2 moments, and most of them are like, oh, that's okay in a vacuum, but Fire Emblem has typically been known for being much grander in scope with its narratives. Again, it's a DLC campaign, so you can forgive it a little bit. One thing that I really like about the Fell Xenologue is that it seems to take convenience into account more than anything, as you're given the option to select a difficulty of just the Xenologue separate from what you selected in the main game. So maybe you're playing a file on maddening mode in your main file, but because you're not used to the Xenologue, you might want to do it on normal. Another cool thing is that you don't gain any experience from the battles because all of your units are a preset level that's necessary to beating the map. So you never need to grind. You don't even need to go to like a shop or the convoy to get items, as you're automatically equipped with what it is that you need. So that greatly reduced the amount of times I needed to dive through menus. Really, the only thing you're restricted on is how many units you have, and I think that's why it has to be Chapter 7. You also are able to take in any emblem rings that you've gotten on your quest, regardless of whatever the Fell Xenologue demands in the story. The Fell Xenologue is 5 chapters long, and all of the maps here are pretty good. They don't have any radical revolutionary gameplay elements like, say, Fire Emblem Fates Revelation did, except on the last map. That was actually a pretty cool twist. But apart from that, it's just more Fire Emblem Engage, which is not a bad thing, as Engage has probably the most solid turn-based tactical action the series has ever seen, even if it may not be the best Fire Emblem game. The music is a bit hit or miss, but one thing I did like is on a few of the maps, the music that played when the enemy took their turn was usually the battle music when you were taking your turn in certain moments that were parallel to that in the main story. If you're just in it for the maps, I guess it's a serviceable time. It starts out really easy, but then the difficulty quickly ramps up by the end, so it has a nice difficulty balance. But apart from that, it doesn't have a whole lot of substance. Sure, it can have its emotional moments, but I definitely feel like Cindered Shadows was a far better story than this, and even that wasn't that great in retrospect. Once you've beaten the Fell Xenologue, then you get quite a lot of additional items and characters to join your party, all of them new, by the way, and you also are able to unlock 2 new class types. Now, I'm not the type of person that likes to experiment with units as classes, as in 3 houses I would put everyone as a mage, But in Engage, I preferred to keep everyone as their default classes due to the complexity of the weapon triangle. And so I didn't actually test these out, but based on what I read from the descriptions, the Enchanter is a class that uses up items to get certain boons. It sounds super ridiculous, but I imagine it's like an evolution of what Marlinus did in the original Fire Emblem, where he was like the walking convoy. Then there's the Mage Cannoneer, some of which appear as enemies in the Xenologue campaign, and they can shoot huge blasts of magic from very long distances. Think like the Ballistae, or like the magic orbs in Fire Emblem Fates. Overall, it's pretty cool that they have more variety in the classes, but it doesn't feel like you needed the Xenologue just for that. It doesn't seem like there's enough story justification for why these classes are there, but that's just a nitpick. If you want more experimentation, that's cool. Overall, if you're looking for a nice alternate take on Engage's environment and characters, this can give you some pretty good laughs. But it's not going to be a super deep, amazing story that you might have thought that it was. I personally was hoping that it would tie up a lot of the loose ends that were info dumped ad nauseum at you in the final chapter of Engage and just left it to your imagination, but nope, doesn't even touch any of that. This is a completely alternate world, completely separate from the main game. It's just for a couple of additional perspectives, some new characters and classes, new music, all that. So it's more Fire Emblem Engage. Not necessarily a bad thing, but don't go into it expecting a whole lot. As for whether you should purchase the entire expansion pack or not, I still say yes. It's 5 more chapters, more emblem rings, and more Fire Emblem. I know I've been repeating myself a lot, but as a diehard fan of Fire Emblem, more opportunities to increase the size of this world and get people aware of what the games of the past were like is a very good thing, especially if this means that we're going to get Fire Emblem games on a more frequent basis and Nintendo will acknowledge this series more. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Let me know down in the comments if perhaps I was unclear or if you have any questions and what you thought. Special thanks to my patrons Matthew Rakowski, Sploon Ghost, Splatcat, and Scooterdoodle for supporting me financially, especially after that letter that I just got from the DHS. And until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye!